Welcome back, and here is this week's video. And once again, because I have just only recently finished that book about Seneca's letters, we'll be covering something I read there because I'm lazy and can't think of anything good, but nonetheless. So let's get down to it. This one is a thought I've had myself, and this is really what I like about this series of letters that I've been reading of Seneca's, is there's a lot of ideas and thoughts that have been around I've seen multiple times through different sources or resources and stuff like that. But it's interesting to see one so far back as the Roman Republic kind of year, 2,000 years ago. There were people who were having similar thoughts and coming to very similar conclusions. And, I find that very interesting and also, encouraging to know that these ideas have lasted that long. And if they have, there must be something to them, which I think there is, that is either useful or helpful for us to know and to use in our own lives. And I guess that's where we can then segue into what this week's going to be about, which I can't remember which specific letter it was, but essentially, just to give a brief kind of context of things, I think the friend that Seneca is writing to, is having troubles or is having issues or something, and he's thinking about going away or going on a holiday or visiting some resort or going somewhere away from his problems and going on a holiday to kind of get away from things. And Seneca advises against that, and in one part, he uses a kind of quote from Socrates, which is, this Greek philosopher, and it kind of goes along the line of, look, you can try and, go someplace different, go somewhere else, try to escape your problems, or even if it's only for a certain amount of time, and, get away and try and, clear your mind from all these things. But the difficulty they bring, or that they kind of allude to and kind of explain, is that although, you might have left your current surroundings and you've gone to somewhere new and novel, and that's all exciting and everything, but the reality is once that novelty kind of wears off, the problem is you were in many respects running away from the issues you have in your own life are very much, in you and is a part of you. So you going to a different place, there might be some novelty for a while, but once that kind of wears off, you're then kind of stuck with yourself again. And that's when you'll see those kind of issues creeping in. And then what Seneca goes in further and then says, what a blessing it would be if these people could find a way to lose themselves. If they could manage to, not just lose their surroundings, but to lose their kind of mental maps or their attitudes and beliefs and thoughts around what is causing them pain, or what is causing them that kind of torment or whatever. So I think that's an interesting way to see it, because in my own life, I saw people doing, you wouldn't say at the time, in thinking about it, you wouldn't say that they were necessarily running away from their torment. I think in many respects it was probably running away from boredom, which is another different kind of thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's in many respects boredom's a good thing. It can be used very well if done in the right way. But when I was in my late teens, early 20s, the fashion at the time was to essentially do a summer holiday in, usually it was Europe, but and other options depending on how much money you had, or what was available, or what year or what part of the year it was. You might go to Japan or Thailand, or the main one was Europe. That's the main one usually most people go to, but there are other destinations which people go to, which was just such a typical thing back then, which just everyone seemingly wanted to just leave the country and go somewhere exciting, go somewhere different, you know what I mean? But the reality is they ended up just getting drunk at a pub just in another country, and you were doing the exact same thing here, so what was the difference? And like I said, many people wouldn't think that they're running away from their problems or running away from their life, but or they might not look at it in that lens. Then there might be a small semblance of that idea, but it's not like they're very much hardcore looking through that lens of that's why they're making that decision to go on that trip. But I always avoided doing that, and I in my life never went on any of those trips to Europe or Thailand or Japan or anything, just because of what I felt about that. It's just like it doesn't matter in many respects where you are. It's more about who you are, because that's what Seneca then kind of talks about like next. Is he goes, these people don't need a different place. They need to be a different person, because. And he goes on further going, if you go to these new places, and especially if you live there, or, you're living there for an extended period of time, all of your, like, little things are going to, kind of come back. All the things that were causing you problems back where you were before will slowly creep back in again. And what he talks about is, like, if you're really, if you tend to have a jealousy of, people who have more money than you, it's just like, yeah, you go somewhere else and that will be fine for a time. But then eventually there'll be someone, or, there'll be some instance of someone, upping you, having more money and stuff like that. And that's going to cause you pain like it did when you're at that previous place. And then same thing with like, acknowledgement and promotions and merit and stuff like that. He's like, you might really want to be, highly successful and stuff like that. But, this other person got a promotion and you didn't. And, that's going to cause you pain, like no matter where you go. So, and then another one, I know I just recently talked about this in my blog post, but also death. It's like, if you're afraid of death, in one place, it's still going to be the same in another place, because it's still you. You haven't gone into yourself, into that terrain, in your own mental terrain, and even things out. So it doesn't matter where you are, geographically speaking on the planet, those problems are going to follow you no matter where you go. So it's about going inward and fixing those problems, and then, or, sorting out those matters yourself and kind of getting, some stability there. And then from that point, it doesn't matter where you are on the globe, no matter what you're doing or where you are, you will be in a much better position, like a much better, place of mind than if you had just gone off, on some sort of holiday, or gone somewhere to try and, fix, kind of fix your issues by going away and going on a holiday. Because that's another thing, like if you just do a holiday, it's like if you got issues, you're just going to come back from that holiday and then you're just going to go right back to where you were before. And if anything, things have probably just gotten worse because, a series of time has elapsed without, you being around or doing anything about it. So it's just probably gotten worse in the interim. And then that's going to make you more unlikely to do anything about it because, well, now the challenges have become even steeper, and before you were already running away from it. So what's the chances of you doing something about it now that it's even gotten worse? So, yeah. I guess that could be the kind of message for this week, because I did it in the blog post. So I guess that is kind of something you can kind of think about and look towards your own attitudes. Like if you have been, like, not saying anything against holidays, like 100%, like if you want to go for a holiday, go for it. Like I'm not saying that you can't go on holidays like ever. Like no, you're not allowed. But it's more about, don't be going on a holiday just because you're trying to run away from things, because it doesn't work, and it will never work because of that reason we kind of I gave in the start, which was you can't run away from yourself. You're stuck with you. So until you figure you out, it's like, or at least get down fair way down the track on that endeavor, then it doesn't matter where you go, things are going to be kind of tough for you, and that's going to be even more demoralizing because the thing you thought was going to work didn't, and then, well, you're stuck with the shit again. So yeah, I guess I'll leave that there for this week, and have a read of the blog post, and that can kind of give you a way, and like a way to shift your attitude towards death, because that was that was one of the things I talked about earlier about, might be a reason why someone is running off because they're scared of, death and all that kind of stuff. So have a read of that blog post, because that might give you some, ways to shift, or, a new perspective on things to shift your attitudes. And, have a think on this, and if you'd like, comment and like below. Thanks.